So we are live. I am Veci DelMundo. I'm your virtual neighbor. These are my journals. I try to go live as much as I can. Well, that's not really that true. I need to go live. I know that's the future. I've been saying this for a while. This is my first attempt at trying to go live. It's more a question of discipline and also schedule management. I have a 9 to 5 uh, that I don't have much faith in a sense of like long-term financial success. I am confident that content creation is the thing that will move the needle forward way more than any W-2 type of salary that I could be getting. The reason why I say this is because I don't think I have a chance of getting quote unquote lucky in tech sales because I work with larger companies and I sell a tool, so my income is dictated on my work, which I don't mind, but I think that through social media, TikTok, content creation, there is a place where I can get lucky, right? One of the videos really goes off and I have an ability to promote hell yeah, they got the attended list. Damn, we had really good attendance. Yes, and the folks from Shannon Health came. Very nice. So I think that's really important. What's up, Amanda? So I think that's really important when it comes to, yes, I do my work, but hi, what's up? So I'm working technically right now, but I got to just do a lot of administrative like paperwork stuff. And I decided to go live because Amanda, as you might know, but as other people know, I'm also recording this. So I will post this 30-minute live on YouTube because I am, of course, trying to grow that. But I'm just working the muscle. I've posted every single day on TikTok since June 8th. I feel comfortable about my ability to post on TikTok and my discipline to post on TikTok. Now it's much more of a question of posting a little bit more longer form content, something that's like 30 minutes long, something that I can really go into. And as typical, I can always talk about chocolate, but this time I'm happy to talk about any other subject. But I will go ahead and just kind of talk a little bit about how chocolate is made. Chocolate is made from a plant that grows on the equator. So the plant is called cacao. So it's a cacao tree. It typically grows on the equators. Think countries like almost everybody in Latin America. You can also think countries in India, Philippines, obviously the West Africa, places like that all grow cacao. The interesting thing is that they don't actually make chocolate. They export the dried cacao for Western nations to make chocolate. There's a lot of chocolate makers, obviously, in Europe, in the United States, in Canada. A big goal that I have is to build the chocolate factory in Esmeraldas, Ecuador, which is where I grew up. I spent the first 9 years of my life on a cacao farm in Esmeraldas, Ecuador. I know I don't look it, but I did. My mom is Ecuadorian. Puedo hablar español. My first language is Spanish. We exported cacao, like we sold cacao to people in Ecuador, of course. But I want to try to, with climate change and the supply chain issues that exist within cacao and in the world, really, this is really a good time for me to start opening up a chocolate factory. And not only to sell chocolate, but also show you guys the entire process of how chocolate is made. What's up, Deanna? So show you the process of how chocolate is made. I have a trip to Ecuador right here, as you can see, in April. I've had a trips before. The last time I went to Ecuador was over Thanksgiving break, where I took you guys with me and I showed you guys the chocolate farm. The next time I go, I do plan on being a lot more strategic this time, possibly going live on the farm. I'll have it scheduled so you can watch me open up the cacao pod, see what cocoa looks like before the fermentation, before the drying, before the packaging. I already have a room at my grandfather's apartment, basically. So he lives in Esmeraldas. And what I have is he had like a 3 bedroom, not really a 3 bedroom. It's like more of a storage unit was the last one. And we converted that into a working kitchen. We put in a sink, we put in some tables, a countertop. Todavía nos falta cabinets, but pretty solid start to the chocolate factory. So my grandfather is elderly and he's not going to be with us for much longer. He doesn't remember me as his nieto. He remembers me as his nephew, as his cousin, somebody cariñoso, somebody that, cares about him and he cares about, but he was not really sure exactly why he cares about us. So our family is pretty much ready to get the news that he's not with us anymore. And we also have some caregivers, some help, if you will, that we pay a full salary to help take care of my abuelo. And my thought was also like, well, when my abuelo is not with us anymore, what's going to happen to the workers? Like these are very important people in my life. These were people that also raised me. Like when I lived in Ecuador on the cacao farm, these amazing women were the ones who helped my mom and my family with me and my brother. And they were just always part of our family group, if you will. And when my grandfather passes away, what are they going to do? What, we're just going to let them go? No, that's not fair. That's not appropriate. That doesn't make sense. That's not who we are. So by opening up this chocolate factory in Esmeraldas, Ecuador, it allows those workers to continue being employed. My mom already made the decision that she was going to pay them indefinitely for forever. And it doesn't matter how long my abuelita's with us for. But I was thinking, I was like, well, it's a great opportunity for me to win, for them to win, for everybody to win. Because if we convert the third bedroom into the chocolate factory, kitchen, whatever, they can still show up to the same work location to continue working. But instead of taking care of an elderly diabetic man, they're able to make some chocolate with it. And that's kind of how I see it. And they're totally family now. I am hesitant to call them family. I do call them primos. So I will admit that. I do call them primos. And they call me primo. And I think that's really important. But I also want to respect the fact that there is a difference in separation in what it is to be family because I haven't been there physically since I was a kid all that much time. I don't call them as much either. So there's a few things. Well, I don't really call my actual blood cousins as much either. So yeah, I guess they might really honestly just be family that way. Yeah, it's like an uncle being a dad, best friend. That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. So, anyways, so we are converting the kitchen we converted the bedroom into a kitchen. So now it's a working kitchen. The next thing that we need to do is get the facility FDA registered. And when we get the facility FDA registered, then I'm allowed to actually sell chocolate to the United States market. It's not hard. It's not difficult. It's not expensive. A few $1,000 to be FDA registered, sure. But that's not, as far as like how much of the money that I have set aside for this business slash project, it's not terrible. It's important. It's an important part of opening up and launching the business. What up, Mini? ¿Qué tal? Bienvenidos. I'm talking about chocolate, of course. And my next trip to Ecuador in April. So that's really cool. So, bueno. So yeah, so we already have the kitchen in Ecuador. We just need to get it FDA registered. We have workers that are already on the payroll, so they'll just be converted into the kitchen. And then I don't know when the employee ownership part is gonna start being applied. It's gonna be tricky and confusing because I don't want to do it too soon where it doesn't make sense, but I also don't want to confuse them. So I think for the first few years that the chocolate factory is launched, I'm probably just going to give them a bonus at the end of the year based on profits. And I want to be clear about profits, not revenue, because I'm going to be dumping a lot of money into this chocolate factory. And when we are profitable and we are seeing, return net profit after investments, I want to get them something. And eventually it'll evolve into, hey, here, I want to legally give you percentage of the chocolate factory. So once we have the chocolate factory created, I want to give them ownership, a percentage so that they can go to the banks. And once the chocolate factory in 10 years time, whenever it is, right, is doing like $1+ million a year in gross revenue, they can take those numbers. And even if they only own, 5%, right? If they only own 5% of the business, well, technically they have equity of $50,000 of a business. And for you, like that might not be like a big deal in the United States, but in Ecuador, that's a huge deal. They can take that to the bank, get a loan out, and be able to build a house on top of the actual income that they're making. And that's really the goal that I have through the project of this chocolate. So, what is my competitive market advantage in this? It sounds silly. I'm in tech sales trying to sell candy. Like it is a very silly, goofy ass dream that a lot of people have in tech sales and tech in the corporate world, whatever. But I have a competitive market advantage. And I'm going to share it with you. And my competitive market advantage is I grew up on a cacao farm. I have infinite raw ingredients to make this product. That is a huge benefit. When we have the land we already are selling cacao on, so all I would need to do is take the cacao from the farm that my mom has and my family has, drive it down the street. We don't need to export it to the United States to make the chocolate. We just put it in a camioneta, take it down the street, and we can process the cacao into chocolate. And then instead of us exporting cacao, we're actually exporting chocolate. And by doing this, we own the economy within chocolate. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but cacao farmers only make 6% on the net sale of chocolate, which is ridiculous to me, which is in today's 2026, there's no reason why we still have colonial rules on these cacao farms. Like, it really doesn't make sense. In Latin America, it's at least better than in West Africa. Holy cow, the Belgian lobbyists forced Ghana and the Ivory Coast to have a cap on their cacao prices so that Europeans, when they buy cacao, it's not too expensive. Why is that happening? Why do they do that? So that they continue making chocolate, and they keep the profits in Europe for the chocolate, even though cacao doesn't grow in those areas. Cacao is an equatorial plant. Thank you so much for the likes, by the way, y'all. That's super awesome. Thank you, Amanda. So it's one of those instances where it doesn't make sense to sell cacao. Let's just sell the chocolate. Because if there's a global drought again, or if there's a drought again in Latin America, like there was in the past, and let's say that we're not actually able to, let's say half of the harvest dies of cacao, right? Well, what we can do is we can make chocolate, and then we export the chocolate, and we end up possibly making even more money selling chocolate than we would selling cacao. So then it goes into the brand. Then it goes into, okay, who are we going to sell this chocolate to? Well, we could go commercial and sell it to bakers and restaurants, or we can just create a brand, a logo, and sell the chocolate directly to the individuals. I plan on doing both. Because we have the cacao farm, there's a lot of products that we can basically make from that. And I'm going to run through a few of them right now. Obviously, chocolate is a big one, but before chocolate, we could also just make cocoa powder and sell cocoa powder to people. We can also just make cocoa butter and extract cocoa butter and sell cocoa butter to people. And that's also a cosmetic product. So if I get one big contract with a cosmetic company, I can just sell the cocoa butter to them. And guess what? That contract, whatever money that goes to, quote unquote, the business, me, goes to Esmeraldas, Ecuador. So to the farmers. So that's where having either an employee owned or a bonus structure for them based on revenue is really important to me. I'm in sales. I want to incentivize them to make great products. Like, that's just good business. That's how my parents always did it. We have a worker on the farm who's been with us for 25 years. He knew me as a baby on the farm. My mom just built him a house as a thank you. No strings attached. Now it's his house for him and his family because it's just good business. And if I can do that with the chocolate, I think that's a really important place to be. So that's where I'm at with chocolate, with the cacao. Now I'm going to go through the steps to make chocolate from where we are now to what todavía nos falta. We have the farm. We're growing cacao, but the cacao that we grow is called CCN51. It is a clone variant of the cacao that they have. It is not for flavor. It is for volume. So it's not a good cacao for me to use to make chocolate. It is a good cacao for us to use to make cocoa powder and cocoa butter, but it's not really a good cacao for us to make like really high-end craft artisanal chocolate from. It's just not the best plant or cacao that comes from the plant. That's called CCN51. That's what I think like 60 to 70% of all of Ecuador's export is CCN. However, we are planting, I think 3 or 5 hectares of a clone of the Nacional. So it's a hybrid of the Nacional. Nacional is like the old school OG cacao plant that is super expensive, but also just very susceptible to all of the things that plague cacao, like witch's broom, different insects, pesticide, blah, blah, blah. So we're planting a hybrid that is known as Fino Aroma. It has won different awards. So we're planting that right now in Ecuador. Or well, at least we bought the plants. We haven't planted them yet. So it's a whole process to do that. But the plants are bought, being taken care of, I believe, at like an infirmary or whatever. And when they're mature enough, then we can take them and start planting them. I will be hopefully showing you guys videos of the planting of the new cacao at some point. That'll be really interesting. So we'll be, and the unfortunate thing, the other thing about it is the Fino Aroma that we're planting will typically take like 3 to 5 years to mature. And once it's mature, then it'll be ready to harvest. So that cacao that we're planting today won't actually be ready for you until like 2030. But we're just kind of getting it in there now so that when that time does come, we can start making chocolate out of it, which is cool. Of course, we'll be selling cacao too, but we'll really be able to make chocolate out of it. We already have a fermenting box. It's a small one. It's not a full process, but we have a fermenting box that'll ferment 300 to 400 pounds of cacao at a time, which is decent. It's okay. It's pretty solid. Good for artisanal, smaller projects like this one for now. We have done 2 fermentings already out of those cajas. And after that, we previously just put the cacao, the fermented cacao, on the concrete to dry. That's not how we're going to be doing the final product, but that is a way that is something that we are doing and have done. The next step is to build some tablas or some tables, some mesas made of wood so that when the cacao is drying, it doesn't dry on the concrete. It just dries on this nice clean wood instead. So we have a artisanal fermenting process, a craft fermenting process. We have an artisanal craft way of drying the cacao, which by the way, nobody in Ecuador is spending this much money to ferment and dry the cacao unless they're like a big production chocolate cacao company. So when we have these tables made, the cacao is going to dry on that, right? What's up, Christina? And then after that, you package the cacao and get it ready to ship to Europe, USA, or wherever it is. And that's typically how cacao is fermented and dried and shipped. The cool thing about how we're going to have our product is it's going to be fermented, dried, but then just moved. What's up, John? And then just moved to our chocolate factory, which will be down the street, a couple blocks away. So then from the cacao farm to the chocolate factory, that typical export cost that almost every other chocolate company has, we won't, because we're making the chocolate next door to where the cacao farm is. And that's why being the next door neighbor, being a neighbor, being a Veci is a big brand mission that I have, because the chocolate is going to be made next door to the cacao farm. The chocolate economy that typically exists in Europe and in the United States and in these Western countries can exist right next door to the cacao farm. What does that mean? Think of the income that the bakers will be making to be able to go and buy something as simple as a cake. So now the other local bakers are able to profit because there's more money in the pueblo. There's more money in these communities because chocolate is now being made in Ecuador next to the cacao farm. They're neighbors. The economy work hand in hand. It's not that the economy of chocolate is taken to Western countries. It exists there as well. So the money is able to be moved within those communities, within the pueblos, which is really what I have in mind when it comes to building this brand of the virtual neighbor. Because the cacao farm deserves the same level of respect economically as the chocolate maker, regardless if the chocolate maker is in Europe, in the United States, or down the street from Ecuador. And the only way we can respect the cocoa farmer is if the chocolate economy exists next door to the cocoa farmer. Because guess what? They can work together to do things, build things. Like I said earlier, they'll have ownership of the factory, so they'll be able to go to the bank and take loans out to build houses. So the construction worker wins because there's more money in the pueblo, in the town. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's a big goal of mine. But until then, right now, we're just building the chocolate factory. We're trying to perfect the cocoa bean, and we're trying to build the chocolate factory at the same time. So I'm kind of running two. Really, the way I look at it is I'm really running three operations. I'm doing the cocoa bean, like the cacao bean, like the farm part of the business. I'm doing the baking slash chocolate making part of the business, and I'm doing the content creation part of the business. So it's like cacao, chocolate, and content is the trifecta of priorities that I have right now. I'll say so far, so good. So far, so good. You guys have seen my content. You guys have seen the things that I'm trying to get accomplished, which is cool. And you've seen the progress also as I go, not only just with the content, but with my tempering and also with the cacao farm. I am the other benefit of it is I am being a lot more engaged in the cacao farm than I previously have. I know that my mom and my abuelito really love that. It's full circle. Going back to my little pueblito. Anyways, so that's the chocolate business. I don't have a full name for the chocolate factory yet, but it's going to be something around being a neighbor. It might and I'm going to have multiple businesses as well. Here's a little bit about like a logo, more or less. Chocolate del Veci. I don't know if it's inverted in the camera, but there are a lot of different directions and angles that I could take this. But for right now, I am excited to lean into streaming. Streaming is big. Streaming is important. Streaming is the future. And I need to make sure that I am participating in that form of content creation because AI is scary, isn't it? AI is scary. Thank you so much, Amanda. You are the GOAT. So, anyways, that's just a little bit about what I'm trying to do, a little bit about the goals that I have for this chocolate business. And I don't try to pour this passion into my 9 to 5 because it's a tech startup. At any moment, I can get an email or a random calendar invite saying my role is not needed anymore. And then I lose my 9 to 5. Plus, I don't think I can make major money moves with any 9 to 5. But if we are owners of this chocolate business or this content creation, one good video can, really move the needle forward. Like I've been in sales long enough to know that I'm going to give you another one. I'm going to give you some sales advice. There's something known as the 10-80-10 rule of business, more or less. And it states that 10% of the people that you talk to will buy what you're selling. Doesn't matter how bad of a salesperson you are. Doesn't matter how bad of a product it is. 1 out of 10 people are always going to say yes, are always going to buy no matter what. And the other side of that coin is also true. 10% of people will just never buy my product, will never support me, will hate me. The important thing is the 80% of people that may or may not buy what I do, depending on how I present to them the product that I'm working with. That's known as the 10-80-10 rule of business or life, really. So with my current job, even if I execute perfectly on all of the fronts, maybe I make a little bit of extra money for that year, but it's not money for forever. But if I close a really good deal with the chocolate business, where maybe I talk to some cosmetic companies, beauty schools, people who make, I don't know, chapstick and cocoa butter is very expensive and they need somebody to get them cocoa butter for a very affordable price. And if I can land that contract, that's, however much money I would make times every year, times every order. I'm a salesperson. I am nervous as hell to launch a food business, a consumable product. I'm scared. It's a big, hairy, scary project that I've never done anything like before. Never done anything like before. I'm just a salesperson. I'm a good salesperson. So once we have this chocolate factory up and running, I'm looking to probably hire a chocolate factory manager or somebody to run the ship, run the factory. We already have somebody who runs the farm, but I'm looking for somebody to run the chocolate factory in Ecuador, so that all I have to focus on is selling the chocolate. What's up, depresso espresso? Don't be depresso. Don't be depresso, but I do like espresso. You caught me as I'm talking about chocolate as always. So I'm just looking forward to the time where I can actually like sell the chocolate. I want to get to that point, because once I get to the point where I can legally sell this chocolate to the United States, y'all are going to be sick of me. I'm going to be posting all the time. I'm going to go live. I'm going to have, like those live shoppers that have like all of the products in front of them, like I'm going to do all of it. I'm going to do everything. I am looking forward to the selling of this product so much, because I'm tired of making these tech companies millions of dollars, tens of millions. Okay, maybe not tens of millions, but at least $10 million in contracts closed. Like, I'm just tired of making them money, when in reality, I could just sell something I'm actually passionate about for people I actually care about. So that's where I'm at with it all. If you're curious about being a taste tester for Veci, make sure you're subscribed to the Cacao and Comments newsletter. It's in my Substack. And if you are subscribed to that, I will be sending applications out to people. I will have open applications to people. If they want to be a taste tester for me, I'm only going to have at most 100 for each year. So I'm not going to have more than 100 each year. And you can only participate once each year. So if you're a taste tester and you receive one of my chocolate bars, congratulations. You'll have to wait for next year to receive another one. But if you want to be a taste tester for Veci DelMundo, the legal and correct way I can do that without having an FDA registered facility is to have a research and development team. So if you want to be part of my research and development team, make sure you're subscribed to the Cacao and Comments newsletter, because I will be creating a Google form application for people to be part of the research and development team. This is the taste testers, basically. That is the legal, correct way for me to do that. I will not be charging you for it. I will be eating the entire cost of sending you. What is up? You made it. Excited to have you. Yeah, I see you went live. I'm going live. I'm in it. I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing. Actually, dang. I'm also recording this so that I will be posting on YouTube and making clips of it. And you just distract me, Maribelita. It's messed up. What was I saying? Paid subscribers, research and development team. So make sure you're subscribed to Cacao and Comments. I will be making applications so that people can submit that information. People who are people who are already subscribed to Cacao and Comments will be receiving priority to be part of the research and development team. So I'm not trying to share this with friends and family, because the truth is, anybody who makes content or is a content creator has experienced this. Random strangers who F with your ish will probably support you more than friends and family might, because I want to engage with people who are engaging with me. And that's a really big one. What's up, Hector? Bienvenidos. I'm talking about how to be a taste tester for my chocolate. So be part of Cacao and Comments newsletter. Make sure you are checking the monthly updates that I send out, the Cacao and Comments updates monthly. And just be ready for something around the title of research and development, taste testing, something like that, more or less. And that's the legal way I can actually ship chocolate across state lines without getting in trouble, is the research and development team of taste testers. I'm excited for it, by the way, y'all. I'm really excited to like start actually sending out chocolate. A lot of people close to me in North Carolina have already received some chocolate, because again, I'm making chocolate. I give chocolate away all the time. Like, I travel with chocolate bars, like in my purse, basically, is what it is. So I travel with chocolate bars in my purse, and then I just give them out to people. Like, it's a fun way for me to market also, because it's such an easy marketing tool. Like, all I have to do is just ask them, it's like, hey, do you like chocolate? And they're like, it's a random ass question to ask a stranger. I'm like, do you like chocolate? They're like, yeah, I like chocolate. I'm like, do you like dark chocolate? And then then I get some people are like, I love dark chocolate. I'm like, you want a piece of dark chocolate? And then I take my little bag out, I eat a piece of my own, and I'm like, you want some? And like, I offer them like a little square or whatever. And then they're like, ooh, this is really good. I'm like, I made it. I haven't made chocolate from or using cacao from my farm yet, That's the other thing that's the other reason why I'm a little bit hesitant to send people chocolate right now, because it's not the final product. It's just something I'm making for now. The final product is actually going to be out of Ecuador. Hector, you are 1,000% correct. I will also add, it's been that way, or it was that way like 2-3 years ago. So Hector just asked question. I watched the other day that due to climate change, the cacao industry is in trouble. Yes, Hector. It's a little bit better now, but it was really bad like 2-3 years ago. In fact, I posted something on my Substack about the reason why I got into chocolate. So if you go to my Substack, I think it's actually just called Welcome to Cacao and Comments. Let's see here. Yeah, Welcome to Cacao and Comments. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to give you some actual numbers, researched numbers here, Hector. Or I could just start reading it out. Yeah, I'll just read it out for you. Hey neighbors, I'm Veci, and I'm glad you found us. I'd love to introduce myself. I spent the earliest years of my childhood in Esmeraldas, Ecuador, where I grew up on my grandfather's cacao farm. Our main exports have been banana and cacao, which instilled a deep appreciation for these ingredients. My parents moved me and my younger brother to North Carolina when I was 9 years old. We all love North Carolina, and we have fallen in love with this community. Y'all means everyone. Living in North Carolina, my mom made it a point for us to never forget where we came from. The typical multicultural household, you could say. Here we go. In recent years, we've noticed a dramatic increase in the prices of cacao beans. 100% since January 2024, 2 years ago, and a staggering 230% since July of 2022, so 3.5 years ago. This is noted by David Branch, an analyst with the Wells Fargo Agri-Good Institute. So the droughts that affected mainly Africa were 3 years ago. Africa produces, I think, 60 or so percent of the global supply of cacao. So when the largest suppliers of cacao, basically their harvest is ruined because of climate change, Latin American cacao. So if supply drops, demand stays where it is, and then prices go up because people want cacao, but they can't get it from the main suppliers. So my mom and many other Latin American cacao farmers saw an increase in their income because people who were buying cacao globally needed their cacao. Think the Nestle's, the Mars, the Hershey's. They were going to get their cacao regardless. So a lot of people made money in Latin America that were selling cacao. So the cacao industry was not in trouble. The chocolate industry was in trouble. And I'll add to it, Westerners, Europe, United States, Canada, making chocolate, those people were struggling more than the cacao farmers. So it's really the chocolate industry that was taking a hit, while the cacao industry was actually winning for the most part, depending on who you ask. Obviously, West Africa would say, no, absolutely not. They were getting crushed. But I would say they were getting crushed because they allowed Western lobbyists to dictate their prices in cacao to give a cap to it. But hey, you know me, I'm anti-colonialism. So whenever I see it today, it sucks. So Hector, that's a great question, because that also sparked my enthusiasm to make chocolate, because it's just a matter of time, because it's not going to get better. And it's only going to get worse. So eventually, my mom's farm, my grandfather's farm, everybody's cacao farm will be impacted, just like West Africa's farms were impacted. And when that happens, we can sell chocolate. So we need less cacao exports because we're converting the cacao into chocolate, and then we export the chocolate. So that economy of the chocolate will still exist next door to the farmers. So the local community isn't as impacted because we're the ones making the chocolate instead of exporting the cacao and other people making the chocolate. So let's pretend half of the harvest is destroyed in Ecuador, knock on wood. That typically means that cacao farmers will make half as much because they can sell half. They don't have as much. But if we had a chocolate factory that was buying a quarter of the cacao from that farmer and sharing the profits of the chocolate, if half of the harvest is wiped out because of climate change, because of droughts or whatever, people don't go hungry because chocolate is still being made and exported. in US dollars, European euros, whatever is being brought to the pueblo, Ecuador, Esmeraldas for the cacao farmer. So that's another motivation for me to make chocolate, because it helps and supports and at least gives a little bit of a safety net for when, not if, but for when the next major drought hits Latin America and South America. So those are just some of the risk mitigation ideas that I have in cacao in the agriculture space and chocolate space as well. Will I buy cacao from my neighbors instead of just using the cacao under our own roof? We'll see. Probably not, because other locals are not fermenting and drying and maintaining the cacao to the levels that we would be fermenting, drying, and maintaining the cacao. Over November, I went to Ecuador. I showed you guys some cacao that was drying on the side of the road. I don't want to buy any of those, because not only am I doing this for the social economic impact of the pueblo, but I do want to present a very good product to the masses. So, because I'm going to be charging a luxury price tag for this product, because all of the consumers or everybody who buys, the neighbor's chocolate, Veci's chocolate, whatever, will have a QR code to a YouTube playlist specifically set up for that fermenting batch. So each ferment will make about 500 chocolate bars. Really more, but 500 chocolate bars is going to have a QR code for a playlist to show them all of the steps that we took for that exact chocolate bar. That level of transparency is going to cost money. Not so that I profit. Yes, I'll profit, of course, but it's a premium for the community that actually is showing you where your cacao comes from and us actually loving and taking care of the cacao. All right, let's see. I told myself I was only going to do this for 30 minutes. Where are we at? We're at 42 minutes. So great job, everybody. What's up, DJ Valentino? So yeah, the chocolate is not going to be cheap, but it's because we're going to be showing everybody all of the steps needed and taken for the chocolate. So that's what's DJ You a Beast. Not sure if you subscribed, Hector. Nah, Hector, you've been riding with me for a minute. I'm sure you subscribed. If not, I probably messaged you about it, which is what I do with everybody, by the way. Never forget, I'm a salesperson. I've been a salesperson for 10 years. I'm good at what I do. The biggest key to being a good salesperson is give a shit. That's what I would tell you. Give a shit of people that you're talking to. Care about them. Learn from them. Ask more questions. I constantly tell new salespeople when I'm teaching them or whatever, the key to a good close is a good open. That first impression, that first relationship, that first engagement, that first interaction, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So when you're opening up, so if you want something from somebody, give a shit. Start there. Find out what is going on with them. Find out the quote unquote pain points that they might be having that you might be able to relieve. If you can be somebody that is a problem solver for them, they will listen to you when you need something from them. Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V, somebody I listen to a lot in sales and marketing, he says he had a book that I read that just really helped me develop all of my sales experiences. And the book is called Jab, 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 Right Hook. So it's like a boxing expression, right? Boxing, jab, 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 big right hook. The small jabs are value adding activities. So I want to give you something, give you something, give you something, so you feel appreciated, right? I want to give, give, give. And then the big right hook is the ask or the sell, or what do I need from you? Before I go for the big knockout hit of what I need from you, I need to make sure that I'm giving you things. So little, 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 feeding you. Things like liking comments, things like going to people's content, things like reposting other people, things like going to other people's lives and liking their stuff. Like DJ, for example, like I joined your lives because number one, you're an awesome DJ. And also number two is because it's something that I want to build a champion in my neighborhood. in my virtual community. How can I build champions in my virtual community? I need to be the champion for my neighbors first. If I was writing a book, Substack is a perfect example. If I'm not subscribed to other people's Substacks, why the hell am I asking other people to subscribe to my Substack? I'm not saying follow for follow. I'm just saying that the thing that you want from somebody should be the thing that you're willing to give before you ask that of them. Anyways, that's a little bit about my sales tips, sales advice. When's the hot chocolate coming out? I don't know. I'm excited. I'm going to talk about it. So here's the deal. Chocolate is so fascinating. I know cacao because I grew up on a cacao farm. I know cacao. I don't know chocolate. I'm learning chocolate. So I'm going to talk about hot cocoa right now. So the way that I make artisanal craft chocolate is I have the dried cocoa bean. It's fermented, it's dried, it's ready to be roasted / toasted. So I toast the cocoa beans. I separate the shell from the inside of the cocoa. And then I stone grind that in a little machine for days. And then I have this chocolate liqueur is what they call it, chocolate liqueur. But I have this chocolate made. And that's how I make artisanal craft chocolate. However, hot cocoa is different because hot cocoa uses cocoa powder, not the full chocolate. What's up, Kevin? Hot cocoa, the way that we know it, right, with the little marshmallows and like a nice little hot cocoa, the fat from the cocoa butter needs to be extracted from the chocolate. And that's what cocoa powder is. So to get cocoa powder, you need to extract the cocoa butter from the chocolate. And then what's left is cocoa powder on one hand and cocoa butter on the other hand. Once those two are separated, let's put aside the cocoa butter. And now we have cocoa powder. There's like 4 different kinds of cocoa powders. There's like alkalized, raw, whatever. But when you have the cocoa powder, that's what you use to make cocoa, a hot cocoa drink, hot chocolate drink. When will I have hot chocolate drinks basically ready to sell? I need a 20-ton hydraulic press to extract the cocoa butter from the chocolate. So then I have cocoa powder left. That is what my priority is on my next trip to Ecuador in April. Last time I went to the cacao farm was over Thanksgiving break. And my main goal was to get it started. And we got it started. We have one of the workers there that makes chocolate monthly. But the next step is to get this 20-ton hydro press, which costs like maybe $1,000, maybe $500 probably. And I want to extract cocoa butter from the chocolate when I get there. And that's a big thing for me. Hector asked, what would you do with the cocoa butter? Great question. I got a couple thoughts for this one. What would I do with the cocoa butter once it's extracted? There's a couple different things that I could theoretically do depending on what my highest priority is at that time. First and foremost, the first thing I would do is I would make cocoa butter wafers, like little cocoa butter chips, little cocoa butter things, whatever. And I would package it and I would start selling cocoa butter to bakers. So I would package the cocoa butter into little wafers, into little chips, and make that a new product in my product list. So I would sell chocolate bars, chocolate chips, cocoa powder, and cocoa butter in the wafers. That's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do, I would start, and it's going to sound ridiculous, but I would find somebody in Esmeraldas that makes lip balm. I want to do collaborations and give the economy to the locals in Esmeraldas. So what would I do with the cocoa butter? I would find somebody in my pueblo who makes lip balm, and I would contract them, pay them. I would contract them to make me 100 lip balms, like 100 little tubes of chapstick, using my cocoa butter, using coconut oil, which because I'm in Esmeraldas, we can grow coconuts. So we can make the cocoa butter. We can make the coconut oil. The only thing we wouldn't do is the beeswax. So I would hire or find somebody to buy beeswax from. And I would contract somebody in my pueblo to make chapstick. And then I would sell Veci's chapstick. I know it sounds silly. I know it sounds goofy. But if you think, but my big goal is getting the money to the pueblo. So if I contract people to make chapstick, well, guess what? I have paid subscribers on my Substack. So it's one of those instances where if I can make 100 chapsticks and it costs me $1 each, let's say $2, five, whatever, I can totally sell that to people because I don't need an FDA registration to sell chapstick or lip balm. It's just lip balm. So I can start selling them in bulk. If somebody wants a year's supply of chapstick, hey, here's 10, right? 10 for whatever amount of dollars. And I'll just send it to them and da. So there's a lot. There's a lot that I can do. I'm trying not to spread myself too thin though. That's why contracting somebody to make the chapstick is what I talk about so that it's somebody else's business that I'm collaborating with. Because I know when I buy things, I'd like to support smaller local businesses. And I work remotely. So I do live in Latin America half of the year. Right now, I'm in North Carolina for the next few months, spending time with family. I love them. I found a decent condo that I'm renting. But yeah, those are some of the things that I would do with the cocoa butter. Anyway, so a lot closer to Ecuador. Thank you, Hector. Content creation. Content creation is going. I need to, yeah, I mean, it's cool. I'm posting, I'm getting out there. I need to do more of those podcasts. I need to post some of the podcasts that I had. Kind of want to do them live though. I don't know yet. There's still a lot for me to think about and give attention to, but for now, I think engaging with people is key and going live is important. Also, I might go live later today. I went live this morning because I had a little bit of time in between my calls and then my other call canceled. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna keep vibing here with y'all. What's up, Miss Ford? So yeah. Well, actually, I think that might be it. I think I'm gonna just end it a little bit soon. But thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the conversations. Thank you for allowing me to continue talking chocolate, continue talking cacao, something important to me. I've been involved in for a very long time, and I am excited to bring it to the community, to the virtual neighborhood. So I think it's really cool. I appreciate you guys joining. Dang, Big Al, you just joined, fam. Sorry, brother. I'm calling it on it, but pleasure to have you. Take care, everybody. My thoughts exactly. Hilarious. This is still recording.